Well, good morning, everybody. We're going to start straight away with a couple of supplier spotlights before my formal introduction at 10:37. So a couple of spotlights to start with. The first one is Leonard Little Associates.
Hello, David Little here of Leonard Little & Associates. We're agents in the UK and Ireland for Macrobox and Fossalusa, and we're delighted to be here and the Sheet Plant Association virtual conference. I've over 30 years experience in the packaging sector, including corrugated sector business development and capital equipment sales. Macrobox manufacture corrugators, flexifolder gluers, both open and close, and quick make ready presses, as well as digital corrugated equipment for laser cutting and digital printing. These are images of a Casemaker, a 1300 2.8 machine recently installed in Dublin. This machine has 4 print units, followed by a double slotter and a rotary die cutter, folder gluing section and counter ejector. It produces very good square boxes and nice bundles, easy to handle. This 4-colour job is interesting because it's running on a Casemaker with hot air drying and end of press drying, and it's running at 12,000 an hour on a multifold die 3-up. So actually the 12,000 is 36,000 units per hour. As European manufacturers, spare parts are only an overnight parcel away, but we feel it's important to offer full technical service support in the market as well around the whole of the UK and Ireland. Fossalusa's quality takes the lead of all the Italian manufacturers of material handling equipment. Adding automation with pre-feeders and palletizers, for instance, allows you to reach your full potential in production, increasing the running speeds of your casemakers, but also helping you therefore to reduce staffing and increasing the outputs. Materials handling equipment is worth seriously considering with quite a low investment cost, but a very fast return on investment. If you have a requirement to upgrade your waste handling equipment, please do remember Fossalusa and Leonard Little & Associates, as we'd be delighted to quote. Many thanks for your time. I hope you enjoy the conference and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you for that message from one of our valued suppliers. The next supplier with a micro spotlight, we'll be hearing from Mike Introna from MI Associates.
Hi, good morning conference, and many thanks for the opportunity to speak to you today. Hopefully, a few will know me, but for those that don't, my name is Mike Introna, and I have 25 years experience in the packaging industry. I have experience in and exposure to many companies and suppliers of all types in a variety of situations, including greenfield sites and redevelopment projects, with numerous machinery installations. Most recently, I have been involved in business support, troubleshooting, commercial project evaluations, and the direct leadership of strategic business planning alongside market analysis for growth. In these uncertain times, investment may be key, and with a close associate, who is a very recent area director for business banking at HSBC, we can help you become more bank ready in the current climate. We can support by giving an experienced, independent view on capital projects and also identification of opportunities to enhance value in your business, along with support for people development strategies or recruitment. My aim is to offer genuine hands-on support with implementation and also the embedding of any improvements in your business. My recent experience has been in a large group, but some of you may know me from my time at TRM Packaging, where as part of the executive team, we bought the business out of administration and exited with a sale at over 8 times EBITDA, which was equivalent to business turnover. The aim of my associates is to support your businesses and to support you as business owners and business leaders. With my associations, we can help you navigate these uncertain times and beyond. I can assist with project or supplier review, and with my in-depth knowledge of many of the supplier base, I can assist with vital but independent analysis or liaison on key project or investments. We can also support you in any potential exit strategy thinking and implementation. With direct expertise in all areas of supply chain, manufacturing excellence and resource management, we can support improving service and value in your business. We have recently engaged with a provider of online training programs that have certificated and points accredited courses among the more than 200 on offer and are astonishingly good value. And finally, we can help in all areas of business telecommunications and 4G broadband in poor fibre service areas, again offering significant savings and service improvement. I offer a free consultation, and if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Thank you and best wishes for your continued success.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you to Leonard Little Associates for those 2 micro spotlights. We are going to have a couple of anonymous polls during this virtual conference this morning. So there'll be a poll popping up on your screen any second now. If you can cast your vote and give us your feedback, that would be great. These are anonymous. We won't know who's done what, but it would be useful to get some results during the event. So I'm just about to do that. So if you wouldn't mind doing the same, that would be great. Once we have those results, we will share them with you. I'll just give you a couple of seconds to complete the poll, and then we'll move on. Right, well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to a Red Flag Day, our very first online conference. Very different to a physical conference. I won't be able to buy you a beer. I won't be able to bore you over dinner, and I won't be able to look wretched in the morning over breakfast. But it is very difficult to a physical conference. Please be patient with us. It's quite a technical and logistical undertaking. We're relying upon an awful lot of very different internet connections around the country. And we're trying to shoehorn regular content into a 1.5-hour meeting. So we will be quite strict on timekeeping. We've been very busy over the last 7 months. Unless you've had your head in the sand, you'll have noticed we're doing an awful lot for members. We've had our weekly supplier and converter member Zoom calls, which have been very well attended, where we've been able to share experiences, lick each other's wounds during these difficult times. You've also been receiving, if not on a daily basis, a couple of times a week, our regular business and COVID bulletins from BAYS and from government. I have to thank CPI for their involvement and their help in getting that information together so we can send it to members. We've also, during the 7 months where we haven't been able to meet in person, we've reissued the SPA contracts of employment and policies. So please go to the website and see those and implement them within your business. We've also reviewed our BRC support to members and engaged a new retained BRCGS specialist. More of that later. As I mentioned, there will be 3 anonymous polls. We've had one already during this event, so please answer those immediately and we'll get the results afterwards. Also, please use the chat function. You'll find somewhere on your screen you have the chat function. If you've got any questions, ping those over to us, and if we have time within the presentation, within the allotted time, we will answer those. Well, my 2 minutes are up. Not my normal spiel, I know. Just one quick reminder, please refrain from discussing anything or asking any questions that could be deemed as sensitive under current competition law. Thank you for that. The first formal presentation is from a conference regular. He's online. I've seen him earlier, Luke Menzies from Menzies Law. Luke will be giving us his employment law update.
Thank you, Tim. Bear with me a second, I'll get the old slideshow going. Well, it's great to see you all, and even in a slightly different format. Hopefully I will stick to time. In fact, you brought me in the middle too early, Tim, so that's absolutely fine. I'm ready. Employment law update in 5 minutes. I mean, in some ways that's actually easy because employment law has really ground into the sludge in time of coronavirus. Not a lot have happened in terms of new developments and so on. Parliament's obviously been rather busy, and the courts and tribunals often been shut down. So there's not a huge amount been happening. So the update will fit in. As ever, I'm reminding you of the SPA Employment Law Hotline. Myself and my colleague Anne-Marie are always here. And many of you take it up, but please keep going. There's an email address specific for you, as you can see on the screen, and there's our number as well. So do please use us as you wish. just as a flavour of what's been happening and to show you the wide range of use that the hotline has from SPA members, we've had calls recently on a wide variety of the usual stuff. So we've got tribunal claims still going on for all different types. I'll mention that in a minute. Lots of redundancy questions. Now, I don't think any I've spoken to in membership have had to make large numbers of redundancies, but it's 2 or 3 here, or 1 or 2 here. And it's questions around how do you put people in selection pools? Could there be disputes about who should go in a selection pool, and how do you select them, and that sort of thing. And then sometimes there are situations where someone hasn't been performing that well, and they're also sort of redundant, and can you get that into the box of a fair redundancy? So that's been, I have to say, the mainstay, and no one will be falling off your seats in this conference by telling you that redundancies are the mainstay at the moment, and restructures and that sort of things. We have a wide range of disciplinaries, some of them very silly situations, some of them highly amusing, some of them just incredibly stupid. People get themselves caught doing all sorts of silly things, and that continues, and little things, grievances and moans and groans and so on. Current tribunal claims where we're acting for SPA members, we've got a couple of disputed misconduct dismissals, won't surprise you at all, and also one which is relating to a commission pay dispute. Whenever you've got a tribunal claim that may come along, hopefully it's very rare for any of you, do always check us out, even if you don't use us as your main employment law provider. You may find that we can give you a much better service than that you currently use. And as a specialist firm, everything is geared up to these things. So if you happen to use a general full service or a small firm for your day-to-day advice, do come and try us out, because you may find that we're going to give you a much better service. Certainly that's what I would say in any event. So here with today's prettiest picture of a coronavirus, hopefully, what's been happening in pandemic time. Well, you all know about the major changes that actually haven't needed me to explain them to you. The job retention scheme, of course, has been a massive impact and blown a large hole in employment law in the effects it's had. We've now seen the tapering off of that, and of course, as we finish October, we're seeing the tail end of that scheme, with the government contributing just 60% of wages, and they come to the end at the end of October. Then we move on to new things. We've got the job support scheme, which you'll have no doubt heard about ad nauseum, and the job retention bonus scheme, which will kick in for those who qualify, that you pay in February. Now, this is changing. Even a couple of days ago, I saw that the government was changing, and of course, if you're in the north and any of the areas that are further locked down, there could be further support. We really don't know. And just like I think in March, April, and May, things are changing by the 2 or 3 days. So I'm sure you've got your own ways of getting information and updates on these things, and continue to do that. In terms of the biggest theme of more difficult stuff to advise on, it's what came up, I think, in previous calls, if you've been involved in SPA calls on a Friday, whatever. It's the concerns returning to work, uncertainties felt by employees, uncertainties felt by employers, how to get things COVID ready and COVID safe. Obviously, the recent "everyone go back to working at home if you can" message has caused some confusion. And I think we're seeing generally, I imagine you'll agree with me, is that whereas in March and April there was a bit of a Dunkirk spirit and everyone was doing exactly what they're told, nowadays we are starting to be a little more different in our responses, and how much we listen to the government and how much we're prepared to do this or that. So I think it's more complicated than ever as an employer to have clear messages. So work on your comms, make sure your policy is really clear, make sure your managers are all on message as to how your business is dealing with this, who can work at home, who can't, and when you're at work, the strictness with which you comply with the rules. Don't let things slip. Just as a side issue, there's a worrying sort of trend in terms of gender equality reversing. The men are tending to go back to work or keep the jobs, and women are tending to find it more difficult to do that with childcare and other care and so on. We're seeing a case of often women are ending up with the short straw. So if you do have female staff, just bear in mind the impact, and are you treating them as equally as you would the men in terms of opportunity, work, and all that sort of thing. Yeah, redundancies. Just the first thing to say, if the only thing you remember with redundancies is procedure, procedure, procedure. The redundancy procedure will almost always make the process fair. There's ways, if you haven't followed a fair procedure, of still getting out of it if the redundancy itself is reasonable and rational, but the process is king. Plan early, use the helpline or go to your own advisor and make sure that you map out what you need to do if you've got any redundancies, because there's a set piece of things you need to do in the right order, and giving certain information at the right time can either make it a fair redundancy or an unfair. So be really careful with that. Be careful of selecting who you're selecting, how you're going to draw your selection pools, and who's going to go into them and who's not, and what arguments and business cases you're going to have for that. And remember, it's about the role, not the person. I think that's the key thing. It's easy to say, oh, well, we've wanted to get rid of Jim for ages, so here's an opportunity. But you've got to make sure that Jim's job is actually redundant, i.e. you do not need it anymore. And it's the job that's going, not Jim. Very little happened in terms of case reports. As I said, the tribunals have either been swamped with earlier stage work or shut down, or trying desperately to do things on video, or a combination of all three. So there's very little to tell you, nothing of any real import. We mentioned the contracts before. Thank you, Tim, for plugging those. Remember that from April, there were certain significant changes to what employment contracts need to have as a minimum. Make sure that if you haven't already, you check out that. If you want any query, if you've got any query on what should be in, just let us know at the helpline, and we'll be delighted to make sure that yours is up to date. Brexit, who knows? Who knows what's going on? No employment law yet has been clear, so we're just going on with steady as she goes, and we'll let you know at the next conference if there's anything that actually is going to change Brexit. But the main message is the same, that employment law is not affected at the moment. So hopefully swift and vaguely on time, Tim. That's the end of your very, very brief update. It's a real pleasure to be part of this conference. It's being run incredibly well by the team. I have to say, I'm so impressed, and I slightly stretched their tolerance recently by coming in late to the session, but it looks like I've been forgiven from the smiles on faces I can see. So that's me. I am done. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for that, Luke. You must have enlightened people, because there were no questions. We have nothing in Q&A, so you are now stood down. Thank you very much, Luke. That was brilliant.
Thank you, folks. Have a good conference.
Thanks, Luke. Okay, now next, a topic close to many people's hearts, BRC, as was BRC Global Standard, or GS as it is now. Since we last met in person, I've had a lot of members asking for help with issue 6 of BRC and questioning whether BRC is still for them. It seems to have turned into a very different standard. So your committee have set about trying to resolve this issue and help members. So whilst we get the first slide up, I'd like to introduce Robert Herridge to conference, and hopefully Robert will explain how and why we engaged with him, and he can give you a brief understanding of his credentials before I present what we've actually come up with. Over to you, Robert.
Thank you, Tim. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Just to give a little bit of background to me and who I am, I've worked in packaging for 32 years. I spent the first 7 or 8 years working for packaging manufacturers, having worked in a sheet plant myself in Glasgow, and then moved to the customer side through various industries to eventually working as head of global packaging for Bacardi Martini, based in Hampshire. I have been running my own consultancy business in packaging since 2006, and about 5 years ago I was approached to get involved with BRC packaging auditing. BRC packaging auditing is required by a lot of sites, primarily to ensure that they can either gain or retain business from certain customers, particularly food and drink sector, but also what we call hygiene sensitive products. It might be cosmetics as well. And even within that, then there's what we call direct and indirect contact, where product is either directly touching the box, such as a pizza box, or perhaps indirectly touching it, where cans of beer are going in a corrugated tray. And through an introduction to the SPA, I've been engaged to assist the SPA and its member businesses with the various issues of ongoing certification or achieving certification, whether it be training courses, whether it be ad hoc days, or right through to implementing your entire set of procedures that are BRC compliant. Obviously, as a current auditor, I know all the various ins and outs that the BRC auditor will be looking for. A lot of the standard is very much about interpretation of the clauses. And I know that some people have struggled with that, and I'll be honest, some of the auditors have struggled with that as well, but because we have this new issue 6 standard, which takes time to bed itself in, but I'm on hand to answer queries, whether it be as a hotline or whether it be to go and visit sites and help them through the process. Will that suffice for now, Tim?
Yeah, that's perfect, Robert. Thank you very much. If there are any Q&As during the short presentation, we'll keep you on just in case you can answer something. That would be great. Thank you very much.
No problem.
So if we could have the next slide, Katie, that would be great. So just to be clear to all members, Robert is now our retained BRCGS specialist. So he is retained by the Sheep Plant Association. And as mentioned, there are 3 types of support that Robert will be able to give your plants. In no particular order, I've put them up 1, 2, 3 here, but Robert did mention that he is available to do ad hoc training days for your staff. So the sort of thing that Robert is good at delivering would be a general training session on issue 6, how it differs from issue 5. So a general understanding of issue 6. Hazard and risk analysis as a separate day's training course. Internal auditing, audit preparation. So anything within this area, Robert is more than happy to come and give you a day's training for all your staff, and it's not limited to the number of people who can attend. Second string to Robert's bow, he is available to any SPA member for on-site assistance. Now, this has been split up into bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and platinum plus. Now, it sounds confusing, but it isn't. It is purely the number of days that you would like assistance from Robert. So if you were to take up a bronze level of assistance, it would be 2 to 3 days on site. If you wanted more assistance because you know, you feel that you're a little bit behind the curve and you'd need an additional 2 or 3 days, we would call that the silver assistance. Gold assistance on top of that would be another 2 to 4 days, and the platinum, which is a lot of hand holding, would be an additional 3 days. Now, some members would perhaps contemplate having Robert to do the whole of BRC for them, so to be responsible for procedures, training of your staff, and actually being present at the audit. We would call that platinum plus. So he would be responsible for all your BRC procedures and actually taking you to audit and being in residence during the audit itself. We'll come on to how those are costed on the following slide, but the final part of the valuable assistance that Robert is going to give us is conference and hotline. Robert will be in attendance at conference, whether that is a physical conference or an online conference, to present BRCGS content. He mentioned also that we will have a hotline, so either a telephone hotline or email support. So regardless of whether you have engaged with Robert as an SPA member, you have those 2 hotlines, the email support and the telephone hotline, at your disposal. If we can have the next slide now, we'll give you some indicative costs. Now, I'm a hard negotiator and I've bashed Robert's day rate down. He's at the top of his game and his day rate is a lot north of these prices. But having retained him as the Sheep Plant Association, we've got some very special day rates from Robert. So if you were to take the bronze or the silver support that I alluded to earlier, the SPA rate is £650 a day plus transport or travel. The gold and platinum support, these would be the additional days over and above the bronze and silver, would be at £600 a day. And if you were to go for the Platinum Plus, which is the all singing and all dancing, Robert is your man to get you to and through BRCGS, then indicatively it would be about £10,000 per annum, depending upon the amount of work required. Now, clearly, Robert would be able to meet with you and give you an estimate or a quotation for the amount of work required. So as you can see, the more days you have with Robert, the cheaper it becomes. And these are very much reduced rates for being SPA members. The ad hoc training days, if you wanted Robert to come in, unlimited to the number of attendees, we've arranged a special rate of just £800 a day. So clearly if you're training 10 or 12 staff at the same time, or even more, it becomes very, very cost-effective training. Okay, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say on this. I suggest that you visit the SPA website and look at the initiatives, because the BRCGS initiative is now up to date. It has Robert's rates, it has Robert's contact details. You should engage him directly. There's no point phoning or there's no reason to phone the SPA office. Robert is retained by the SPA and you should deal with him directly. So that's really all I have to say. Robert, do you have anything to add?
Just one small point regarding the Platinum Plus. That is effectively providing you with a quality manager, albeit remotely. So when viewing that as a cost, consider that against what you might pay for a full-time salary. And I'm not saying that as a pitch, I'm just saying it's a point of clarification. I'm more than happy to assist people in any way that I can. The BRC standard is a little bit evolving, particularly in this COVID era, and some audits can actually be done remotely, which might actually help some sites in the short term whilst they get to grips with the standard. Not all visits at the moment have to be physical audits.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Robert. Unless there are any direct questions on BRC, we will now move on. Thank you, Robert. You are stood down.
Thank you very much, because I'm actually mid-audit, so I'm now going to duck out of the call. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Okay, that's great. So we've done a lot of work on BRCGS, as you're aware. These things don't just happen. Your committee's been working very, very hard to get Robert on board. So hopefully you'll find that a vital and very important piece of our professional support for our members. Next up, we have a conference regular. He does have a sword hanging up on his wall when you see him. He is our health and safety guru. So Andy Ely will be giving us our regular health and safety update. Thank you, Andrew.
Right, good morning. Hopefully Tim could nod if this is successfully on your screens. I'm a bit disappointed that no one has given me a cue for a dodgy limerick or even a partial limerick, so I'm afraid we'll just have to head straight on into the presentation. But good morning, everybody, and thanks very much for tuning in. Right, the first slide, I hope, is just a reminder. You might have seen this slide before, but just in case you thought you might be able to get away with something after Brexit, I'm afraid not. I'm not going to go through all the details on there, but legislative mechanisms were put in place to ensure that EU-derived health and safety protections will continue after Brexit. Just some very minor changes. So all the normal things that you do are still there, you still need to do them. And to repeat the quote some time ago from HSE, after Brexit, we have to continue to manage our businesses and our employees in a proportionate way to reduce risk and to protect people and the environment. And it's business as usual. Our obligations to protect people's health and safety will not change. If you're a manufacturer, supplier of equipment and machinery, just a tip, you're probably already on the ball with this one. You need to check out HSE and .gov.uk websites to see what you may need to do with the UKCA marking as opposed to CE marking, UK conformity assessed marking, that means. So we've got some more information on that if everybody needs it, because we are a notified body as well under the Machinery Directive. Okay, those of you who invite me into your premises to poke around and audit what you're up to are probably familiar with a tactic where I might be might spend some time admiring your pristine factory floor, but I will also go poking around into outbuildings and side issues off here and there. And one of the side issues at the moment during the COVID pandemic is home and off-site workers. Understandably, your main focus of risk control is on your factory and plant operation and premises. So you've no doubt put increased communication, consultation, monitoring and policing measures in place to cope with this. And also to cope with possible spot checks from the HSE. We were talking at the forum recently, and there were some highlights of HSE interventions with some of our clients, and non-SPA client has also had some intervention as well. So understandably, your concentration will be on that. But it's easy to overlook those and take for granted those working at home or off-site. You know, I don't think many of us anticipated how long this was going to go on for, and what might have been seen like a temporary thing for 2 or 3 months is now continuing and now being encouraged to go back to work. Home workers, physical and mental stress factors, I think that's something that will be spoken about in more depth later on. It's brought about perhaps by isolation, the decreased communication, consultation, and the lack of casual contact, which I don't think is appreciated much, how much casual contact there is when you're in a workplace, the odd bit of reassurance, the odd bit of contact there. Of course, those of us who are familiar with working at home will be very familiar indeed with the family pressures and distractions, but when you're persistently working at home and not geared up for it, that can be a considerable stressor. Workstation setup, well, makeshift facilities might be okay for short periods, but who knows how long this is going to last, and people are, you know, having been encouraged to return to work and now being encouraged to go back to work again. So the actual physical setup of the workstation can be a physical and a mental stress factor. Another consideration for off-site workers like your drivers, peripatetic workers, your communication methods may have changed, their access to your facilities may have changed, and there can be issues with lack of welfare facilities as well. So what to do about that? It's a very large subject, and believe me, I can talk about it for a lot longer than we have here today, but just some highlights. You need to make sure that there's a substitute for your normal casual contact at work. The communication thing has already been stressed already today. So I'd suggest you brief your managers to ensure that they get some regular one-to-one contact as well as team meetings with home workers to increase their involvement to compensate from this isolation. And the lack of communication can be a significant aspect in stress. Physical and mental aspects, I'd recommend a virtual workstation assessment, and be prepared to provide the equipment if you need to. Raid your office for extra monitors, keyboards, seats, chairs being one of the most important things to alleviate this. But ultimately, if the home cannot support reasonable working conditions physically or socially, considering the individual, the last resort may be to consider a return, or at least a partial return, to your premises, but under controlled circumstances. So if it's really not working out, then you should consider a return to your own premises. I had a video conference with someone recently who apologetically, with much banging and crashing, had to vacate where he was because his wife was on coming in to do a business call herself, and the banging and crashing was actually erecting the ironing board in the bedroom, to put his laptop on. Appreciate that some people may be working in a one-bedroom flat, is what we should be thinking of. And on the emotional side, some people are sensitive to this for the isolation and for working at home, need some consideration. With the drivers and other peripatetic workers, you've had to change your premises around very likely, and you need to adapt your communication methods to ensure frequent communication. So you're needing to be reinforcing the knowledge of correct COVID-related behaviours, because you're not always with these people. So, and also you need to stress their sense of personal responsibility in this as well, but very importantly, allow their feedback. What has been highlighted by HSE is that people are not aware that they should be providing visiting drivers with suitable welfare facilities. So even though your premises may be effectively locked down to non-essential visitors, you should still be providing some kind of a welfare facility for people who have to legitimately visit you. So in this respect, you may have to remind other organisations of their statutory obligations to make suitable provision for visiting personnel. So I think at the heart of this, again, is communication to start with, finding out what the situations are, and then taking appropriate action. But you need to step up, I think, from your traditional communication methods to cope with this, the people working from home, the people isolated, and the people who you're less able to supervise because they're wandering about, not under your control. So that's all I'm going to say today. Please let me have any questions or feedback on that. I'll be pleased to answer.
Thanks for that, Andy. And please do use the helpline, the hotline telephone. Andrew is available. Andy is available anytime. So please use that. Obviously, a different slant to health and safety this time, which is great. It moves us nicely on to the next presentation in many ways. We've been working quite closely with Westfield Health, and delighted that Carol Callender's with us today. And she's going to give you a little understanding of what support Westfield Health can give to SPA members. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Tim, and good morning, conference. And thank you very much, Tim, for inviting me as a guest. I'm delighted to be here, although not in Tewkesbury as we planned. So a little bit quickly, some background about myself. I've worked for Westfield Health for the last 6 years, and before that for 34 years with HSBC. And latterly, my career at HSBC, it was in conjunction with Westfield Health. Westfield Health and HSBC had some mutual products that I provided to our commercial clients. A bit of history about Westfield. We're a not-for-profit organisation. We're 101 years old, and we're based in Sheffield. And some of you old enough might remember the old penny in the pound schemes, and that's really still one of our core products, which I'll tell you about later. And I'm very honoured that we've looked after Dairy Pack's health cash plan for the last 11 years. I've checked this morning, Tim. You've been with us 11 years and counting, so well done. And 6 years of it with me, so very well done. So firstly, I want to tell you about a report that Westfield Health commissioned and published at the beginning of June, which seems such a long time ago now, doesn't it? Called Divided Together, and really quite an apt title in that we are in all of this together, but in very different circumstances. We surveyed 1,500 employees across the UK. Some of them were working from home. Some of them were working from home with children. Some of them were furloughed and some of them were still working in offices and factories. And the purpose of the report was to understand how the pandemic had affected the UK workforce and the future of work. Now, clearly, some of the findings in this report are now slightly out of date, but I think they're worthy of looking at again. So next slide, please, Katie. Okay, so if you bear with me, I'll read through these findings. So 33% of the workers answered to say that they thought their physical health had got worse during the lockdown. And I found that quite surprising because I think my own physical health has improved because I seem to have more time. I'm not flying up and down the M6 and driving 30,000 miles a year, you know, but clearly 33% think it's got worse. 74% of furloughed workers, interestingly, expected to be back at work again by July. 32% say they're more productive working from home, and in some respects, I know I am, but in others not. It's strange, isn't it? 19% of parents say they're not sure how they'll cope with childcare when they return to work. And this is what Luke was alluding to earlier, isn't it? A lot of that does fall on working ladies. 64% don't think it's safe to return to work yet, and bearing in mind this was June. And 48% of those who've continued to go into work think they'll be left behind once others come back. So that's interesting, isn't it? We then conducted another survey, and I think this was published in August, of 200 HR leaders. And the key findings of that report that I've pulled out are a fifth of HR leaders notice a rise in tensions between colleagues. 41% say that's due to furlough. 60% of HR leaders say it's likely this will be the end of the office environment as we know it. Sadly, I think that is so right. My partner works for HSBC. Andrew was in Canada Square at least once a fortnight, and the new big head office in Birmingham. And really, they're almost white elephants now, aren't they, those buildings? 42% of HR leaders say the mental well-being of their staff has been negatively impacted by the pandemic. And I think that very much echoes what Andy was just talking about. Both of those reports are available on our website, and along with a wealth of health and wellbeing information that's free that you can use to share with your staff. There's some excellent free webinars on there. There's health and wellbeing toolkits, and there's loads of fact sheets from everything from physical health to mental health. So I would urge you to go and have a look at the Westfield Health website and click on COVID. At the very top of the screen it says COVID toolkit, I think. Click on there and it will take you straight to that information. So in view of these findings surrounding the workplace and mental health, I thought I would just tell you about a couple of things that Westfield Health might be able to assist you with to support your employees and ultimately your business going forward. So next slide, please. Thank you, Katie. So our EASE plan, I think this is one of the best and most simple plans Westfield Health have ever put together. It's an employee assistance programme. It's roughly £1 per month per person. The more people you have in it, actually, the cheaper it is. The price comes down. So what does it do? So Katie, next slide, please. And I'll just tell you, I won't read all of those, but briefly, it provides 24-hour counselling and legal information for your employees, 24/7 and 365 days a year. It's provided by our partners, Health Assured, and the 6 years I've been working at Westfield, I have had such good feedback about this service and the service ultimately that Health Assured provide. Your staff can call completely in confidence or following a referral from you or your managers and have a quick chat, maybe up to an hour, with one of the team of counsellors or legal experts, or indeed, if it's deemed clinically appropriate, to then go on and have 6 sessions of face-to-face counselling, which of course now would be via Zoom or telephone counselling. The legal information can be really useful tying in with this. Things like a lady, a HR manager, one of my clients runs a mental health hospital in Warrington. The HR manager there, Kath, was telling me, it's a couple of years ago now, one of her employees, a mental health nurse, was divorced, had a 3-year-old little girl. Her husband had had custody of the little girl during the weekend, but hadn't brought her back on Sunday night as arranged. So she came into work on the Monday morning, obviously distressed. Kath put her online straight away to Health Assured. They put her through to the legal team, who assisted her and gave her some of the information, the first thing she should consider doing, and then put her back again into the counselling. So she was wrapped up in legal support and counselling, and it all fitted together so well to assist that lady. Access to this is via a simple phone call, or we have an app as well. Health Assured have something called the Health E-Hub, and there's again another wealth of information on there for mental wellbeing, and also that is a way your staff can just access a phone call straight away immediately to some assistance if it's needed. Which, you know, looking at those reports, it possibly is at the moment more than ever. And for you as the employer, we provide full reports which give you information about how many people have called and how many are having counselling sessions and the reasons people are calling. So it's completely confidential. Obviously, we can't give you names, but I think that's really valuable information about the mental health of your workforce for, as I say, about £1 per month per person. Okay, so next slide, please, Katie. So the Foresight Health Plan, and really, guys, this is the reason I work for Westfield Health. HSBC sold a health cash plan provided by Westfield, and I became a manager to sell this to our commercial clients. And interestingly, it includes the ease plan on here. Towards the bottom of that screen, it says 24-hour counselling and information line. So the ease plan I've just been telling you about is included in this plan. The price of this, it says at the top, from £5.15 per person per month, but it includes money back for some really everyday healthcare things. So you can go to the dentist, you can go to the opticians, to the chiropodist, go and get some physio if you've got a bad back. It will take you through to a consultation privately and scanning and getting you those answers. So I used to say years ago at HSBC back in 2004 to clients then, really it keeps your staff healthy, happy, and here staff love these plans, and I think more than ever now there is a place for them in the workforce. And interestingly, I look after about 120 clients all over the Northwest. And I was worried at the beginning of the pandemic, thinking, how many cancellations am I going to have? And I've had one cancellation so far, because I think employers do realise for a relatively low cost, it does have a huge value for employees. Okay, next slide, please, Katie. And then I've put a separate slide on this because Doctor Line is part of that health cash plan. And I think, again, just like the counselling service, it's been invaluable at the moment. So your staff would be able to ring up, speak to a qualified UK practicing GP 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And if necessary, get prescriptions. It might be that they just ring up and want some advice. You know, ultimately a diagnosis, or it might be even that the doctor here says, you need to go and see your own GP, this is serious, you know, more than I can do over the phone for you. But I think a huge service. I've used it 4 times in 6 years, and on each occasion I've been blown away about how useful and professional it was. So I just wanted to mention that. Okay, next slide, please, Katie. So this is my last slide, guys, and just another of many services that we do offer. But I think because of the findings of that second report with the HR leaders telling us of the negative impact on mental health of the pandemic, it's worth considering if you haven't done so already. So mental health first aiders, people that you can put through a course and are then qualified to help their colleagues with any mental health conversations needed, really, and being brave enough to be able to approach somebody and have that conversation. That's certainly what it taught me when I went on my course. And I think choosing to have mental health first aid in the workplace kind of demonstrates your company's commitment to mental health and being very open about it. And I know since Westfield introduced mental health first aiders a couple of years ago, our workplace has certainly opened up lots more conversations about mental health and the feeling that it's okay to talk about it, certainly. The cost of a mental health first aid course is £300 per person. It's 2 days, it's online, and it's with a superb facilitator that we use, Kathy Lawson. I'm blown away at how good she is. And like our Katie here, so clever at doing everything online. The course, is it's £300 per person, and then a separate £25 for all the manuals and workbooks that you get to support that. So that's it from me. Thank you very much for letting me tell you about this. If you have any questions at all, I'll type my contact details in the chat function. But I know Tim has all my details, and I'm on LinkedIn as well, guys. Is that okay?
Thank you very much, Carol. That was superb. If I could just follow up on that last point you made. There's been a lot of talk on our Zoom calls about mental health first aiders. Excellent idea. We've got 3 guys at our place going through the training now. I think I would like to aspire to having every SPA member have mental health first aiders in their workplace. It's a super idea. So yeah, that's a call to action. And thank you very much, Carol. That was brilliant.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, we're running pretty much to schedule. I think we're a couple of minutes over, but that's no individual's fault, probably mine for rabbiting on. But next up, we have Andy Barnettson. He's a regular at conference, and Andy is going to be bringing us up to speed with the valuable work of the CPI Promotional Committee. So over to you, Andy.
Thank you, Tim. Hopefully everyone can see the presentation that's just coming up. Good. So, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invitation to this slightly unusual format, but delighted to be here to tell you something about the promotional work. Recall that we've done this over many years now, initially to a business customer audience, but in the last couple of years, we've changed our focus, and it's been very much towards the consumer. We're going out to the 60 million people across the country, and that is a very difficult ask. It's a big task we've got, and we don't have a big budget to do it, but I do think we've got some good results. So, taking the quarters this year one by one, we started in Q1 with pizza boxes, and it was topical because we were hearing a lot of voices out there saying, well, you can't recycle a pizza box. So we thought we'd grab the chance to say, actually, yes, you can. And you can see at the top of the screen there, the special box we had made up. My thanks to the company that made that. And we put those boxes out to 20 social media influencers, and we asked them to post. And pizza's often the top of everyone's list. But particularly topical, as I say, because we were starting to hear these "you cannot recycle" messages. So we picked up that and used pizza boxes as an inroad to actually cardboard always recyclable. So we went out with those posts, 20 social media posts, 214,000. And the great advantage of social media, of course, you know who's actually engaging. You know when someone likes or reshares your post. So a good engagement there. And we went on also in Q1 to a youth audience. And we found that the opportunity here was to go out to a demographic that wouldn't have seen our messages normally. And this was a great chance to see, get the message out to kids. What you can see on the left there is the infographic that we posted in there, we published in their magazine. And we had a comparison of different materials: cardboard, recyclable, renewable. And of course, the other materials can't all claim that. So a publication to younger people, 216,000 directly saw that, and additional banner advertising that took us through from their website to ours, and more on our website in a moment. moving into quarter two, and by this point, of course, the pandemic had struck and we had to rethink our programme. And so in quarter two, we commissioned some consumer research, and under the headline Green in Quarantine, we were asking people what their opinion was of recycling in lockdown and how they felt about recycling longer term, and whether they were going to do more or less recycling when we came out of lockdown. And all of that made for some interesting storylines, which we took to radios. And I, as your spokesperson, went out across 9 radio interviews. Those interviews went out to 31 radio stations, and we reached there an audience of 1.9 million. So we're starting to see some numbers. And the important thing is we're going out in different ways to different audiences. The social media was one thing, very targeted to people who had a very specific interest. And this was the first broader approach to a larger number. Coming into quarter three, and this is where we hope to have the really big numbers. You can see them already on screen. Quarter three, again, thinking in a new way because of the pandemic, we've filmed a Vox Pop video. Our agency has stopped people in the streets. How do you feel about sustainability in shopping? And we backed that up with some consumer research on how people feel about the cost of being green. And a lot of people say it's still more expensive to be green, and we're looking for the cheaper option. We need green to be cheaper. And we put the consumer research together with a Vox Pop video, and we've been very pleased with these results. Picked up, as you can see, by the Daily Mirror online, the Sun online, the Independent, and across those 3, we've got out to 146 million. And since I put these slides together, just in the last week, we've learnt that 150 local news websites have picked us up as well, which puts another 5 million on top of that. So the Vox Pop video alone has taken us out to about 150 million, give or take, in this quarter three. But that's not it, because quarter three has also included engagement with an online artist called Paper Boyo. You can see the image there. Check him out on Instagram. Paper Boyo is famous for his card silhouettes, and he marries them up with famous landmarks in a very humorous way. And he's got 480,000 followers on Instagram. So we engaged him, and you can see the picture there, the image of cleaning up the beach. There was another one cleaning up the countryside. And this picture, first of all, became one of his most popular ever, with 14,000 likes. So that's 14,000 who've read the messages. You can almost see them down the right side of the screen. 14,000 people who've directly said, we like your post. And as you can also see, picked up in the Evening Standard to an audience of 26 million. So we've got some big numbers. It's not just about the numbers, it's about sometimes targeting carefully, but it is sometimes about the big numbers. And we've been very pleased with all of that. Throughout the year, we've had social media. We've been posting on Instagram and Twitter, not with our own profiles, rather with what's called dark posting, where we use the software to target people who have an interest, and we appear on their timelines. But we've had all sorts of images across Instagram and Twitter. And we've also had a series of blog posts on the website. If you haven't been to our website, please do. Very simple, very easy, cardboard.org.uk. You see it there in the corner of the screen. And across the year now, we've reached 825,000 people on the social media. Engagements 168,000. For an early in a program without a huge budget, that's not bad going. We're pleased with the results. So there's your snapshot. That's what we've been doing. Quarter four activity continues. I don't have time to talk much about that today, but we're probably going to identify some sort of a sustainability champion and have a cardboard bust made of him or her. You'll hear more about that in time. So do see the website if you haven't already. Do come to me or the SPA team with any questions. We're doing a great job. I thank you for your support. Tim, thank you very much. Back to you.
Andy, thank you very much, and you must be congratulated on that work. You've done some great work there. Just to remind SPA members, we do actually help fund this activity, and personally, I think you're doing a great job, and I'm sure the members would want to thank you for the great work that you're doing, Andy. Well done. Excellent. Moving on, our next presentation, again, a staple of regular conferences. Neil Osmond, who is on your SPA committee, will be giving us is UK Corrugated Update.
Thank you very much, Tim. And thank you very much, Andy. Paper Boyo, that sounds like a fantastic name. Could that be a Welshman? So just to, hopefully the technology works. Katie, have I been sharing it? Can you tell me? Can people see my screen? Okay, good, that's good. For those that don't know me, my name is Neil Osmond, and I'm, as well as a member of the SPA committee, run my own consultancy called NOAA, where we undertake coaching, work on marketing, and finally on market research. And the reason for being today is as a result of the access to market research that we have. So hopefully the next slide, people will see that. We're commissioned by organisations such as ECMAR, European Carton Manufacturers Association, and ICA, International Corrugated Case Association. And so we have the opportunity of access to these sort of data and this sort of information. And hence why we're able to show you some details today. What I wanted to show people was COVID, the effect of COVID for 2020 has affected every region within the world. This is the way that ICA categorize their regions. And as you can see, as an average, the corrugated industry has suffered, or perhaps only slightly, of falling back by about -1.7 for the first half of 2020. When you think about the number of companies outside of the paper packaging industry that have suffered -50%, -60%, -30%, as far as 70%, or even closed, then the corrugated industry has fared relatively well. You can see that Europe, -1.6. I'm going to dive into that in a bit more detail. As you can see in this slide, actually, some countries have even grown during the first half of 2020. Some others have not fared quite so well, and that very much depends on the work mix within those countries. And we believe that those that have perhaps got a more industrial and a less food orientated mix have fared less well than others. You'll see Turkey at +7.4 for the first half of 2020. Turkey, just to give you a bit of perspective, Turkey has been running at over double figures, so +10, +12% in years gone by. So actually, even for Turkey to be at +7.4, relatively quieter for Turkey. And that tends to be quite a litho-lamb orientated market. So overall figures, again, are for some of the European countries are better. And overall, Europe is slightly better, faring slightly better in the first half. And the UK, as you can see there, is doing relatively well. Why is that? Well, let's take a little more look. So how has the UK been faring? Well, it's been a volatile picture. And as you can see, it's been an up and down year. Sometimes the volumes have been above last year. Some of them sometimes have been significantly above last year, in double digit in some of those last months over the summer. And there's been huge swings depending on the market sector that the corrugated companies are serving. If you drill down, there are some big differences, and particularly by end use market sector. As you can imagine, the food and drink sector are doing well. And if you listen to the Tesco announcement that was made earlier last week about the number of home delivery people that they've employed and how much home delivery they are able to satisfy. As people will know, actually other retailers have not fared very well, but Tesco's figures seem to reflect that they have fared well during this COVID period. So food and drink has fared well. Online has fared very well. I think virtually nobody has gone without ordering something online. And so again, that's the second area that's not done well. Food service has done poorly, as you would imagine. Mind you, having said that, within food service, there's a massive a massive pizza supplier, forgive me, who have fared incredibly well. So even within that sector, there are sort of winners and losers. So you really have to drill down into market sectors and understand, are you servicing those people that are doing well or not so well? And industrial fared fairly poorly. There's also huge differences in work mix, and what we've seen is that die cut seems to have grown significantly and doing well. Taping, for those people that offer taped solutions, are doing very well. And O201s, conversely, I would say was volatile at best. And as I put on there, where next for 2020 for the UK? Well, I'll come back to that. In fact, I'll cover that now. We believe that actually the drivers that are encouraging growth for the corrugated industry in the UK still exist and still are strong for the latter parts of 2020. That food and drink is doing well and online is doing well. And unlike in other European markets, those are stronger and larger parts of our market. So our prediction actually is slight growth for the UK market, slightly more than we're predicting at the moment. We said that the market's growing at about plus 0.2, around about this position, and we believe that it'll be about plus 0.5, which is an amazing result, considering we've just, or we're in the middle of a global pandemic. So just as a final summary, let's have a look here. Yes, so my final summary then is the market's grown versus 2019 to date, plus 2%, 0.2%. Work mix has changed, and very much you have to drill down into what the end use markets are that you're servicing. And if you want some help, very happy to be able to do that. We have data that can support that for people, both by market sector and by regional differences. We're seeing huge climbs in some market sectors too. Die cut very buoyant, taping growing well, and O201 volatile. We're seeing that paper prices are generally remaining stable in 2020, and we're understanding that it's no surprise that the paper companies are quite buoyant and are trying to ensure that there's stability in prices. Substitution of plastics, a big question during the period of COVID, as Andy indicated. Perhaps on the back burner, a lot of people were using more plastic and they were knowing they were doing it. But actually, is it on the back burner, or have recent events, perhaps the fact that Sir David Attenborough is back on the scene, and there does appear to be a greater interest there. We're receiving a lot of interest from companies now about market research, and the plastics issue is the big thing for people. So as a final summary, I would say prospects are cautiously very positive, despite a global pandemic. So that's it for myself. And please also do ask questions. I noticed that a lot of questions seem to have come during this session, but please use the facility ongoing for the next few speakers. But thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Neil, thank you for that. There is one question. We do have time for it, if that's okay. A question posed by Pip Gorringe. Neil, do we have a slide to see which sectors within industry have done better than others?
We don't, and that's because I have that information within NOAA, and I'd be happy to share that with people individually if they'd like to. Obviously, that's what we focus on in our business, so very happy to help people with that. Thank you, Pip.
Great, well, thank you very much, Neil. That was brilliant. We'll move swiftly on now. We don't have time for any more questions there. Next up, we have a 2-minute supplier spotlight, a micro spotlight from David Holt and Item Products.
Good morning, everybody. I'll just line up my tech. Hopefully there won't be any problems with that. So give me 2 seconds, if you will. I am hoping to show you a quick slideshow presentation, a new product of ours. And if all is well and good, can somebody give me the thumbs up that that looks the way it should? Super stuff. So yes, good morning, conference. I'm David Holt. I am the co-owner of Item Products, and I am here to introduce a brand new component of ours, which is called the Coruscrew. It's a reusable fixing for corrugated packaging. It does exactly what it shows you on the screen there. It's a screw to bind and release multiple layers of corrugated board. Super simple to fit. You don't need to have any die cuts. I noticed in Neil's presentation a few moments ago that die cutting was on the increase. Well, this will save you from having to die cut if you don't want to. It's quick and easy to use. Did I mention that already? It's going to be a feature of this conversation. It really is super quick, super easy to use. It's ideal for reusable and returnable transit packaging. And back again to the message that Neil was just talking about, the conversation about plastic has not gone away. It should not go away. This will aid you to reuse your board multiple times. Did I mention it was quick and easy to use? It is robust and it is recyclable, and it is made from 100% recyclable material. That's really important that you all hear that and understand that. It's 100% recycled material, and it can be recycled as well. Here's a video. So, in summary, if you want any further information, call or email me, and let's all just try and make a positive contribution to paper packaging. Thank you for your time this morning. Back to you, Tim.
Thank you very much, David. We now have another message or micro spotlight from another of our supply members. We have Neil Stevenson from ISRA Vision.
Thank you, Tim. Morning, everybody. If you just give me the thumbs up, I'll see if we can, yeah. Can you see that? Hopefully you can see. Yeah, great. Okay, thanks again, everyone. Yeah, thanks, Tim. Yeah, just a quick introduction really into our product in print inspection. It's the first really sort of a seminar that I've joined myself and our business. So I'll just give you a quick 2-minute overview. My name's Neil Stevenson, so I am the GM for ISRA Vision in the UK and Ireland. During this presentation, I'd like to share maybe some basic information just on our products, and in particular the Carton Star, which is focused on the corrugated packaging market. Okay, short introduction with regards to ISRA Vision. We are a machine vision company. We have a strong footprint in machine vision worldwide with many different applications. For some reason, sorry guys, this is not, that's better. Can you see that? Thank you, sorry about that. So we are, again, just sort of machine vision company, focused very much in lots of different applications. Our expertise really is in 3D automatic print inspection, but also with that we have the print inspection into corrugated packaging. Within the print business, we have mainly 4 segments that we're looking after. Flexible packaging, metal decoration, and also label and narrow web printing. And obviously today we just cover quickly the corrugated board printing. We provide lots of systems for many of the world's leading companies in the corrugated print market. Our systems are installed on Flexo, digital, pre-print, post-print, and the companies, many of them have repeat orders and multiple systems, and focus very much on sort of, say, flexible packaging, digital print, and pretty much all installations worldwide. What are the benefits of our system and the Carton Star in particular? The Carton Star print inspection system is using high-speed line scan, colour scan cameras. The system is really focused on integration into existing. I would say 95% of our systems are put onto machines that are already in place, have been running for many years. We're quite flexible in finding locations. A lot of the older machines that are out in the market do have relatively limited sort of space and areas for us to find sort of space to put in the system. But again, you know, with the structural and design, we can find lots of areas within the machine to put the systems. The high performance cameras, very much as you know from everything from defects and print, we're looking at the surface of the printed area. We're looking at mainly at the misprint, barcodes, misregistration, lots of sort of defects that we find within the printed sheet. It's a reliable, fast, productive system. As I mentioned before, we have over 1,000 systems out there in the market. Typically what we see within an investment on a print and a Carton Star is around about a 1-year ROI on the return on investment from the system. This brings me to the end. Again, just to sort of highlight, I guess, quickly the sort of the significant or the highlights within the system. We're looking at reduction of waste, avoiding customer complaints, focused on quality, and protection for further improvements in the system. Obviously, we're available. I'm available for any advice that you need regarding the print and EARS revision carton system. Thank you.
Neil, thank you very much. That was great for your first presentation at an SPA event. You did very well. Well done.
Thanks.
Okay. We have a poll now. We've had one poll already. I'm going to read this to you. What is your view on the outlook for your business over the next 6 months? Will you A, do better? Will you B, perform the same? Or finally, will you do worse? So get your crystal balls out. And they're the only balls I want out, just your crystal ones. Will you cast your vote, please? I have done mine. I will give you a minute or two or a few seconds to complete your poll, and we'll get a result of that poll shortly. Thank you very much indeed. Next up is a gentleman who will be known to many. It's a name that I've known for many, many years, Andrew Woollard. Now, by Andrew's own admission, he's spent nearly 40 years in the corrugated industry. So we're not just talking about Andrew's resilience, we're talking about the resilience of corrugated. So over to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Tim. Let's, guess I'm looking for the much needed thumbs up, Tim, in terms of you can hear me, see me, and the slide is on the screen. Excellent, that's a good start. Yes, so just to start with, to say thank you to you, Tim, and to the SPA for the opportunity to join your conference. It's a pity it's not in person, as we've all said, but you know, I think well done to all of you guys to get this up and running. Over the next sort of 5 or 10 minutes or so, I just wanted to sort of reflect on my career in the industry, and more so the relevance of, in its relevance for the resilience of our industry. And we've been through a lot of challenges, both at the macro level and within the industry over the last few years. And we've come through strongly. We're faced with another big hurdle in terms of COVID. And I, for one, reflecting on why we've done so well over the last few years, have confidence that that will continue in the future. As you say, Tim, I know a lot of the people at the I've had 36 years direct involvement in the industry, started life in reed corrugated cases, and obviously with that business through its various changes and acquisitions, etc., during that period, and retired from Smurfit Kappa last year. I've got a sales and commercial background, but I've been in general management since the mid-1990s. and run plants, clusters, regions, etc. Within the industry. And during that time, I've been involved in integrated plants, sheep feeding and sheep plants, and a bit of co-packing as well, setting up a co-packing operation for one of the majors a few years ago. So quite a broad experience of our industry. If that's not enough, I also, it's in my blood, this business. My father was in the industry for over 40 years, and therefore, yeah, it's something that's never escaped me, or I've not been able to escape it. I'm not sure which way around. So what am I going to cover? If we say that COVID is the latest adversity we are facing, we've been through challenges before. We've certainly seen other bumps in the road along the way, whether they be at UK macro level or at UK market level as well. And we've coped. We've coped very well, and just reflect for a couple of minutes in a moment in terms of why we've coped and how we've coped so well. And therefore, as I say, we have reasons to be confident. I think particularly this sector has particular reasons to be confident in the future going forward. So what have we seen before? I've just picked up just a few things that I can sort of recall during my life and my career. Obviously, we've had some big events, economic events in the economy in the UK during the 70s. Just mentioned a couple there, the 4-day week and the winter of discontent. We've been involved in the UK in 2 wars during that time, and that's had economic impact on all of us. We had the big financial crisis in 2008 when we thought the financial and the economic world was all coming to an end, and obviously we had the European referendum in 2016. Obviously, we haven't seen the full flavour of that yet. Obviously, at the time, it had a big effect on our exchange rates, etc., and on the confidence. With our own little world of corrugated in the UK, we've seen a big reduction in manufacturing output as a percentage of GDP. I mean, as of today, it's less than half what it was in the 1970s. So that is dramatic. We've seen outsourcing of a number of our industries within our customer base out to Eastern Europe and to the Far East. So that's taking a large slug of our market away and moving it offshore, and that's something that we've lost as far as an industry is concerned. We've seen significant consolidation, we've seen significant rationalisation. A lot of the names that I remember when I first started in the industry, if you take the top 3 market leaders today, I guess I haven't added them all up, but there's probably 10 or 12 names that are now wrapped up in those top 3 companies based on when I first started, with that proliferation of various names. One I remember very well, working for, I think I was working for Reed at the time, when a lot of our major customers and market sectors, canning and bottling, just the 2 examples, were moving away from cases into shrink wrap trays. That had a dramatic effect on the volume in the industry and on the machinery types we had, and just in terms of our skill sets, etc. So that was and certainly the big guys were very worried about that in terms of the loss of volume at the time. We're all aware of the introduction of returnable plastic trays in certain sort of areas in the dairy industry and in fresh produce, etc. And that was seen certainly at the time, having lived through that, we saw that having a potential threat, big threat to our industry. Obviously, we've all seen the introduction of shelf-ready packaging. A lot of that has been good news, but it has changed our landscape completely. More SKUs, smaller box sizes, a lot more printing, and more speciality gluing. So again, our skill set, both our designers and of our manufacturing side of our business, and indeed the sales side of our business, and in terms of sort of kit we've got, big changes. Significant developments in raw materials. I'm just picking up one as an example, which is fluting. Certainly in the early 80s, the 127 semi-chem fluting was the standard, and here we are today. 70-gram flute is quite common within the industry, and there are other examples. But I'm just picking up on fluting there. We've also seen the advent of pan-European purchasing leverage. Again, was a big threat to us, I felt at the time, and the lovely thing of e-auctions which hopefully, touching wood here, I'm thinking has reduced slightly. But again, these are big threats and big hurdles we've had to overcome. So how have we overcome them? Well, I think certainly our people, we've shown a lot of resilience within our individual people and the leaders within our industry. I think the quality of our people we have invested in, which has been good. And I think we've all, and certainly the companies that have prospered, have recognised the differentiation of people. A lot of us talk about people being a differentiator, but the ones who've really acted upon that, I think, have weathered these storms very well. We focus on the customer, and I think the sheep plant sector is one in particular where you've done that very, very well indeed. And focus, despite all the other changes that are going on, you certainly focus on the customer and the customer needs. We've invested. Some of the investment, certainly amongst the larger guys, has been about reducing costs, etc. But there's been significant market-led investment as well in our industry. I think we've shown as an industry a lot of flexibility and adaptability, both in terms of our products as life's been evolving and with our people. We've innovated well. We've seen positive product substitution. You know, we've seen wood moving into plastic. We've seen plastics with substitution of plastics, and I think that's going to carry on, as Neil said earlier. I think that's an opportunity for us going forward, and also carton board. I mean, before, during, and after COVID, new markets, e-commerce. I mean, wow, you know, who would have predicted the growth in e-commerce and the effect that's had on corrugated? When I first started in the industry, pretty much the box was about protecting the product, and now look, we see the box protecting and promoting the product. It's part of our customers' marketing mix now. The packaging is actually part of that story, that sales story. I think people are more and more focusing on the value of the box, and people are recognising that and admitting to that. Our customers would admit that. It's not just about the cost of the box. I think as an industry, we've been quite fleet of foot, particularly the smaller, independent, owner-manager type. We've been very fleet of foot. And I think that certainly helped us with all these changes. And I think there's been hunger, and I think this conference is an example of it, actually, of reflecting on that for the last sort of hour or so, is hunger for good practice and best practice. We want to learn, and we're not, the companies that have coped very well with this change have not been complacent in any way. So finally, I think, as I say, I think we should have confidence. We're faced with a big bump in the road with COVID. We should hold our nerve. We've been through tough times before, and we've come out stronger. One thing that continues to surprise me, and you know, I'm I think very pleased to be able to say this, that despite everything that's gone on over the last 30 or 40 years in our industry, and as of today as well, we're still seeing the corrugated market in the UK outperforming GDP. And that is certainly not insignificant. I think the box has status. I mean, we should be proud, I think, to be part of this. I'm proud to have been part of this industry, and it might only be a cardboard box, but I think it has real status now in our customers' lives, and I think it's certainly bringing value. And I think, as we're seeing, we have seen, and we will continue to see, the best sheep plants have prospered and will continue to do so. So, as I say, I think we should continue to face the future with confidence. So thank you very much indeed, Tim. Thanks for the opportunity, and I'll hand back to you.
Andrew, that was fantastic. A round robin around the last 40 years of our industry. Found that very useful. It reminded me of a lot of things I'd forgotten about, being a youngster when I joined the industry as well. I'm reflecting upon your last but one slide there, you know, how have we coped? You touched on it in your last point. I think, you know, we have to mention the great work of strong trade associations in helping individual plants adapt, change, adopt new methods of working. So, you know, I'm thinking about the AICC, I'm thinking about the Sheep Plant Association, the CPI, and others. So, yeah, a great presentation, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. Right, we're getting towards the end of conference now. Next up, we're thrilled and very proud to announce we have Andrew Large, Director General of the CPI, to talk to us. He probably has the most difficult presentation of today, because ahead of any government announcements, which may come later in the week or towards the end of the month, we're going to ask Andrew for his take on where we're getting to with Brexit. So over to you, Andrew, and good luck.
Thank you very much, Tim. I will just share my screen and we'll get started. So, yes, thank you very much for the invitation. I think this is the third or fourth time, Tim, that I've spoken to an SPA conference. So I'm delighted to be here again, and thank you very much for the invitation. For those who haven't heard from me before, I've been Director General of the Confederation of Paper Industries since August 2016. Before that, I've been CEO of associations in the food and the hygiene sector. I've worked in industry for British Steel, and I'm also a former British civil servant and European Commission official. So I've had quite a lot of engagement over the years with the European infrastructure, and I hope that helps me shed some understanding on just exactly where things are going over the next few days. So, as Tim said, we're talking about Brexit, and clearly, while attention has been focused on coronavirus, and quite rightly too, with the very, very significant effects that's had on public health and the economy, Brexit has been ticking along in the background, and we have, perhaps as Sir Alex Ferguson might have put it, we've now got to squeaky bum time, by which I mean that the time period for events to transpire with regard to Brexit is getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. Decisions are being concertinaed up, and as a result of that, it's becoming very challenging for both businesses and for the government to really take the right decisions that need to be taken in the right time frame to be good for the country as a whole. So, to give you an idea of just how truncated things are, we are today on the 12th of October. 15th of October is when the government has said that they will declare an end point to the negotiations that have been taking place. I understand that when Boris Johnson met Ursula von der Leyen from the European Commission about a week ago, there was some suggestion that those conversations might continue at the end of October, but we are getting very, very short when it comes to actually getting the deal ratified by both the UK, the European Parliament, and potentially, depending upon the nature of the agreement, all of the other 27 member states. 31st of December will come along, and at that point we will be right at the edge of the cliff edge. There is no possibility now of extension of the transitional period. And who knows whether on the 1st of January 2021 we will be able to accelerate away as an economy and a country, or whether Brexit, together with coronavirus and other issues, will lead to what has been spoken about a lot as falling off a cliff. So what I'd like to focus on today are three particular issues with regards to Brexit. The first is what it means to trade on World Trade Organization terms. The second is about the Irish border and what exactly does the Irish border issue mean for us. And the third is the whole issue of transport into Kent. And it's that one that I'd like to start with first. People may have been hearing talk about Kermits, Kent entry permits, as they are becoming known. From the 1st of January 2021, a lorry will need a permit to enter Kent. Will need to have that permit so it can demonstrate that it is passed all of the necessary bureaucratic, regulatory and other procedures to be allowed onto cross-channel transport and to be accepted into the jurisdiction of the European Union. This is a very, very significant potential regulatory and bureaucratic load for hauliers across the UK. It's being done to prevent congestion at ports. It's being done to try and keep the cross-channel networks flowing, as opposed to things all being stopped up because there are thousands of lorries parked up that don't have the necessary regulatory permissions. But it will be a huge change in the way in which things operate in the UK. And I would strongly advise people to contact their hauliers and make sure that if they are engaged in any cross-channel freight, that they understand exactly what's going to be required in order to make sure that their shipments can proceed straight to the channel ports and straight across to customers in Europe, rather than being stuck in a queue waiting for the necessary permits while the goods are still on the back of the lorry. So that's the first area. Second issue is on WTO, and what would that mean if the UK were to trade with the European Union on WTO terms? Well, one of the things it would mean is that the UK global tariff imposes a tariff on UK starch imports of £187 a tonne. Now, that is something of the order of a 50 to 60% price rise in the cost of your starch if you're buying it from the EU, based on what I understand of current market prices for starch. This will only be introduced if there isn't a deal with the European Union, and clearly it's potentially devastating in competitiveness terms for box makers, corrugators here in the UK. So certainly one of CPI's key roles, we raised this up at ministerial level with Bays, is to say, look, this is going to be a very substantial change in the competitive terms of corrugated box manufacturers in the UK. Is there anything that you can do about it? The answer we've got is come back and talk to us after October the 15th. So we have been in the process of marshalling our arguments, and we hope very much that there is a deal. And if there isn't a deal, we hope very much, and we expect that the government should be responsive to arguments from seriously competitive industries in the United Kingdom, like box manufacturing, saying, do not do anything unilaterally to damage the competitiveness of UK industry just at the time when you need that UK industry to be thriving and flourishing. So this is very much an ongoing issue that we are seeking to cover, and we will want to put more and more effort into this between now and the end of the year to alleviate and help businesses get over this hurdle, if this hurdle actually comes into existence. Last issue I wanted to touch on is the Irish border. I know a number of you trade across from Northern Ireland to the Irish Republic. Some of you trade also from GB to NI. There are going to be different customs treatments of goods depending upon whether the goods are dispatched from GB to NI for use in NI, or alternatively for moving forwarded on to the Irish Republic. That is going to potentially cause not just a tariff issue, but also potentially non-tariff barrier issues, depending upon what EU inspection regimes there might be in place. Because Northern Ireland will be in the European Union customs area, it also means that there will be exit declarations from Northern Ireland back to the UK, sorry, to GB, to Great Britain. So that means that there will also be a bureaucratic barrier to trade between Northern Ireland and Great Britain. You may have heard some conversations about the Internal Market Bill. The Internal Market Bill was designed to be a unilateral UK method of slicing through those difficulties. Of course, it's caused a lot of difficulties at European level, and indeed the Internal Market Bill might lead to the whole trade agreement not being signed, because the European Parliament has said if the Internal Market Bill is still in place, then the European Parliament will not ratify the Brexit trade agreement. So, where are we today? Short answer is, we don't know. And Boris Johnson doesn't know, Michel Barnier doesn't know, David Frost doesn't know, none of the principal actors know. There are so many moving parts with regard to the character of the agreement. All we can do is wait until we see some certainty, and then communicate and work with our business members, and indeed across the whole of industry, as rapidly as we can once we have that certainty, to know just exactly how we can help people for the best. We are now in the phase of political horse trading, and who knows what will then come out of that period of time. So my final slide, there is a roller coaster ride to come. We have no idea quite what the endpoint will be. If I could just flag up, Tim, We have a couple of seminars that CPI will be running, one on the 6th of November, one on the 2nd of December. We'll be getting speakers from the government to try and give us some latest updates at that point on some of the key issues, going into more detail on the things I've raised today and on a number of other issues that there hasn't been a chance to talk about today. And we'll be extending an invitation through Tim and the team at Sheep Plant Association for others to join and participate in those if you wish. So thank you all very much. Thank you for having me again to speak about this interminable issue at a Sheep Plant Association conference. And by all means, contact me via Tim if there are any issues that you would like to raise specifically. Thanks.
Andrew, thank you very much for that. Clearly, trying to get some certainty is pretty much impossible at this moment in time. So watch this space, and I'm sure our members will take you up on your very kind offer to join your events coming up shortly. Well, thank you very much, Andrew. I do have a very important message from Brunton Publications, from Dan Brunton. He would like to draw your attention to the Connection Virtual Expo, the 2nd to the 30th of November. This is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week rolling event. So that's the Connection Virtual Expo, 2nd to the 30th of November. Now, if you haven't already downloaded the Connection Community app, please do so. It's in the App Store. It's totally free for SPA members. In fact, if you are an SPA member, you get the £2.99 monthly subscription for nothing. So as soon as you have actually registered, Dan will make sure that there is no charge, and you will get this linked in for Corrugated Industry free of charge. So that's from Brunton's. Also draw your attention, 25th of January, we'll be having our next, so that is our 2nd online conference, so you'll be very welcome to join that. Today's conference has been recorded, and all presentations are available on the SPA News channel on YouTube. So please subscribe, and each one of these presentations will be individually loaded, so you don't need to watch the whole thing, you can just pick and choose. So thank you for your attendance today. We do have one final poll, so if we could put that poll up, that would be very helpful. Quite a poignant one, I guess. Would you attend another SPA online conference webinar? Well, I'm going to click my answer there. I think I'm needed, so I best say yes. But thank you very much, everybody. We do have one final spotlight, and this is from Domino. So thank you very much for attending, everybody, and we'll play you out to Domino's Spotlight.
The new business model for corrugated box printing is here. Domino, a leading manufacturer with over 40 years of inkjet technology, is about to take your business to the next level. Introducing the Domino X630i Digital Corrugated Press, a single-pass digital printing solution engineered for everyday corrugated production. The X630i was developed based on a higher quality, more efficient CMYK water-based ink that is food packaging compliant and environmentally friendly. Plus, Swiss Ordnance, Nestle, and UPIA compliant. The X630i provides less setup, less make-ready, less downtime, and most important, more uptime. Our unique polymer-based technology allows printing on a wider range of uncoated and coated substrates, with no pre-coating required. It all starts with our intelligent printhead technology, utilizing automated features that optimize ink and performance, at the same time providing personalization to packaging for greater consumer and brand engagement. And because the X630i is digital, it continuously prints from one job to the next, opening a world of possibilities. Change SKUs, images, artwork designs, personalization, and more, on demand with a single touch. And with print speeds up to 246 feet or 75 meters per minute, the X630i delivers a wider range of print options, from transit packaging to display work and everything in between. The X630i does more, utilizing an environmentally friendly production process and a smaller footprint than competing technologies, all while providing a lower total cost of ownership. Bottom line, this is a money-making machine. So why do we think the X630i is the perfect fit for the corrugated industry? Because the ability to increase margins and maximize productivity and efficiency while minimizing cost and consumption, all with the environment in mind, just wasn't available until now. The Domino X630i changes everything, taking the corrugated print industry and your business to the next level.
Thank you, everybody. See you next time.